Welcome to another episode of The Pipeline, a show where we like to elevate and showcase our partners nationwide who are top producers on the real estate industry and our business owners dealing with the day-to-day crazy market. And it's my pleasure today to have and join and have as part of this program Ike Prinsloo, Principal and Director of the Prinsloo Group, a top producer brokerage out of Las Vegas, Nevada. Welcome, Ike. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, Carlos. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
After several years of working together, I appreciate the opportunity to, in a more comfortable space, share opinions and ideas with you. So today we want to showcase you as well, Ike. So why don't you tell our viewers a little bit more about you, your business, and what made you go into real estate?
Yeah, sure. I'll start at the beginning. When I first arrived in the United States, I came here in 1993 as an immigrant from Cape Town in South Africa. Didn't really know anybody here, didn't know what I was going to do here. Came from a background in the gaming industry. And so I thought, if I can somehow got to stay in the United States, that would be a good thing for me because I was looking for different opportunities. So I traveled around a little bit with a friend of mine for about a year, ended up in Las Vegas eventually after I spent some time in Colorado to going through the immigration process. And when I arrived in Las Vegas, I worked in the gaming industry here for at the Mirage, which is now MGM Resorts. It got purchased at some point, I think 2017 maybe. And so I decided to try the real estate thing. I was very fortunate initially. I tried to work for developers because I didn't want to do resale. It didn't quite work out because no developer would hire me. Everybody says you don't have any sales experience. Go get sales experience and then come back. Sales experience, I did not want to get on the resale market. So I worked for a temp agency. And the temp agency, basically, I just covered days off for other agents that worked on projects for builders. And eventually I got placed at Lake Las Vegas, went there for about 8 weeks. And I said to the director of sales, maybe you can hire me. I've been here. I know the product. So, why don't you give me a try? So he agreed. The other 3 salespeople there had sold 12 homes the previous year. And I was fortunate enough to sell the other 40 homes in the next 3 months. And just because my approach was slightly different, I think. Most builder agents, they give you a price sheet and they tell you to go look at the models and ask them questions after the fact. It doesn't really get the point across. So I decided Lake Las Vegas, because it's a resort type of community with a lake and all kinds of village and goodies, I decided to do it a little bit differently. So when they came in the door, I took them out and put them in my car and drove them to the top of the hill and told them about the location and what's going to happen there. And I was very successful in doing that because if you sell the location first, the house kind of comes automatically if they like where they're going to be. And then after that, I got placed at another project in Lake Las Vegas called Tremonto. The first one was Sorrento. I sold a few units there and then interviewed at a high-rise condo building called Panorama Towers. I got hired there, and that's kind of when my high-rise career started. I sold 332 units there for the developer in 2 towers. And during that time frame, I was given a presentation and somebody walked in the sales office that I've never seen before. Oddly enough, his name was George Perez from the Related Group in Florida. I gave him a presentation, and I'm a bit of an information junkie. I like to read county records and those kind of things that other people find really boring. But I wanted to know what was going on in the city. And, if their new building's going to be built, what future is there for me specifically in the real estate industry, because I like the high-rise condo side of the business. That evening, George gave me a call, said, "You want to meet for dinner?" I said, "Sure." I met with him and he offered me a joint venture to do a brokerage firm with him. At the time, it was called RPRS. Elisa Cervera didn't like it because it was, or CRS for her, I guess, but that was George Perez's choice. And so I got the rights to sell all of these projects here. And within about a year, we had $5 billion in listings from Perez alone. And because we partnered with him also, every other developer, every builder wanted to work with us. And so we pretty much tied up the high-rise market here for several years. every person that wanted to build something here came to us. We work with Station Casinos, a local gaming company here. I work with Don Peebles from the Peebles Group in South Florida also. He's in New York now. With the Greenwald Group, with some local developers here. Unfortunately, 2008, the world came to an end here. Everything crashed just like everywhere else. Unfortunately, Las Vegas crashed a little bit harder than everyone else and decimated the prices in the buildings. We lost probably about 70% of the values in most of the high-rise condo buildings here. And many of these still had inventory left over, which was a blessing in disguise because a few years later, investment funds would purchase these units in bulk, and then I got to resell those units again for them. So then I took over Sky Las Vegas, and I took over another project in the suburbs here called Park House, sold those two out, and now we're doing resale business in high-rise condos mostly, but we're slowly starting to expand that a little bit too into a few select communities within Las Vegas that I know really well, that I've lived in and that my agents have lived in too. Because we don't want to be everything to everyone. You just can't. You really have to specialize in a specific field for it to make sense and to be successful.
And I think that you found your niche. And for anybody that is listening to your story, especially those who have been in the industry for over 10 years, they can pretty much see where you came from and all the work involved into all of those different projects to get the results. So as a long-standing and top producer agent that has its niche in new developments, Ike, how do you see the current Las Vegas real estate market today? What does that look like for investors? What does that look like for your current buyer right now? How is it behaving right now?
The real estate market is very odd here. A little different than most other places. I mean, this compared to Florida is a different world. Here, we're much more dependent on the gaming industry, and if the economy is doing well, we do really well here. Currently, we are at prices in condo buildings, as an example. We're at the same pricing now where we were exactly a year ago. So even though prices increased substantially over the last year, it has dropped substantially again. So it's been sideways movement for us. We do feel that there will be an additional uptick, especially from people from California, due to their economy. And I think they're running a deficit of $32 billion now, and new taxes that they're instituting on higher price properties where they have to pay an additional fee. The seller has to when they sell the property. The bulk of our buyers, about 38%, come from California specifically. And it's close for us too. What I find is many people from there buy second homes here initially, and then they move here, they make this their primary residence, and then the homes in California, they keep as vacation homes.
100%.
This way they can save, anything between 10 and 13% in state income tax that they don't have to pay. So people, they obviously go where, it's more financially convenient for them. And so 100%. Here, and the second market for us comes from Florida, oddly enough. About 5% of the people that move here come from Florida, and then Texas.
Okay. So what are new projects that are coming? Like, what are developers building out right now in Vegas? What are some of the newest projects in new developments that you see have high attraction right now, that are elevating or bringing attention into the city?
So there's only been 2 new projects, condo projects, has been announced in Las Vegas in many, many years. The market was just not there because the previous crash, the prices have not recovered from where it should be. You still look at, you can still buy in buildings for under $400 a square foot, whereas construction cost here is $400 a square foot. That's without any of the other costs that you're going to incur. So you can still buy for well below replacement value. So the only 2 projects that were announced was one that's going to be in downtown Las Vegas. The project hasn't even been named yet. It's 172 units. Very little is available about it at this point in time. This is pre-construction. It was just an announcement. They got the zoning, so we don't even have a name for the building. The second one is in an area called Henderson in McDonald Highlands. I think this is going to do extremely well. It was initially pitched as a building called the Pinnacle, but they have partnered with the Four Seasons. So now it's going to be Four Seasons residences. And those, I would venture to say, will likely at the low end start at $1,500 a square foot and go well over $2,000 a square foot. It's 2 towers on 11 acres with beautiful views of the city. So I think that's going to do extremely well. I know that the pre-sale or the reservations for Pinnacle did really well. But I think once you start looking at what the cost is going to be for construction as well as for your HOA dues in that building specifically, because there's a hotel operator attached to it also, and the amenities that they have, they really needed a proper brand to lift it up a little bit rather than using something generic. But those are really the only two currently. I mean, there may be others coming on the Strip, but it's just currently speculation. So those, here from
yet to be announced. Yet to be announced.
Here, even if it's announced, until you have a shovel in the ground and steel and concrete is coming out of the ground, it means nothing.
We see that often now in new construction with the price of construction rising in top producer markets, how sometimes priority switches for developers and agencies. But a lot of our viewers, Ike, from the technology perspective, since it's a lot of what we do, we always try to ask a few questions regarding to your day-to-day business, right? And what does the Prinsloo Group does when it comes to website? You mentioned that you've been in the industry for a long time. You've seen the industry change. How do you see the technology influencing your business on a positive way? And what were the things that you look for when you started, researching for somebody to create your brand presence online?
So honestly, because I'm in the condo industry, the first place I looked at was South Florida. And I looked at different websites in South Florida, including the last person that was on your podcast, Mr. Simmons. So I looked at his site specifically and one other one, and I liked the layout of it. So I was able to find the name Trim Group at the bottom of the page. And I reached out. And from that, of course, the integration with IDX is paramount for us. So we can have real-time information on the site. And then we integrated with a CRM also called Follow Up Boss. Then we use the big attraction for me was the use of artificial intelligence in the CRM. I also like the fact that the websites that Trim designed was very clean and contemporary styled, which is exactly what I'm looking for. The earlier buildings that were built here all looks like our grandparents do. The newer buildings look like everything in Miami, even here. So you look for something that's contemporary that will fit the style. But artificial intelligence for me was the most important thing, because you can do a lot of automatic follow-up using AI that sends pertinent information to buyers and sellers alike. Of course, you have to talk to them. That's the most important thing. But the contact is very, very good. So it gives good qualified leads.
IDX Boost, as your partner, right? It was intended and created as the #1 real estate website builder for lead generation. So definitely we try to achieve and go after creating beautiful real estate websites to display your brand, and of course have an IDX component to help your website become a local resource when your clients are searching for these condo projects or listings within the market. But we focus very much on generating a pipeline of prospects, people that are looking to buy in the market, where again, like you mentioned, we try to put as much as technology and automations into helping you nurture those leads. What would you say lead generation represents for your business in Vegas right now? Like, is that something that is generating you any type of results? What has been your experience with us in particular, generating new prospects?
Yeah, so it works very well for me. We do two different things. Clearly advertising through Google AdWords and such. I find the leads that comes as a result of that is not as qualified as your generic traffic. I think that's mostly just my opinion. If somebody wants to look for a house or for a condo, they'll go and they'll type into Google, whatever keywords they use, Las Vegas high-rise condos as an example. Now, it's nice to have the paid ad #1 on the page, which is pretty much the case for every building here that we advertise for. We show up as #1 on the page. But ultimately, the generic traffic for people that actually search for specific properties is going to get you the higher return, because those people are actually looking to buy. Or somebody that clicks on an ad, maybe just a click through because they saw something that's interesting to them. So the generic traffic is definitely a little bit stronger as far as return on investment is concerned. Although the number of leads that we have generated and the database we've been able to build over the last few years is tremendous. And long run, even if these people are not buyers initially, most people don't buy within 90 days anyway if they register the website. It's always a process from about 90 days to 2 years when they will come back to you if they keep using the site. And so it's very important for us to have the CRM in place and IDX so we can send them updated information consistently and maybe put properties in front of them that will appeal to them by the time that they're ready.
I think you are on very spot on onto your timelines. That's exactly what we say. An internet lead, somebody that is looking in Google today, may be looking to do a purchase within 6 months. Sometimes you mentioned 90 days, but 6 months up to 2 years, since they're still in the research stages. But once you put in place like the AI nurturing the proper CRM, you can nurture those contacts all the way to the transaction. So thank you so much for your feedback. I know for our viewers means a lot hearing it from you. But Ike, now we want to talk about you, and we want to talk about what are things that are you doing now that you would like to promote to let people know that are going on, and how can people find you online?
So something that I've been lacking in my business initially, and I think many people do this initially, you don't really want to put yourself out there in print, such as blog writing and such. But it's such an integral part to drive generic traffic, because it's really the way that you can be found through SEO and search engines.
Yes.
So it's extremely important that you write blogs and you educate people to the market.
Yeah. For those of you, and I, just to give some background to the viewers, the way we see it is there is short-term strategies for real estate professionals and there's long-term strategies, right? Google advertisement and pay-per-click are a quick way to get traffic into your platform, because we can, pay Google under certain keywords and showcase your brand in front of them. But when you're trying to rank organically, when you're trying to set your brand up for success on the long-term run, you definitely need to create quality blogs, quality content to provide value to your buyers and for Google to understand that you're that resource for them. So, yeah.
And it's very important in the blogs too to link back into your own websites. Interlink so people click around and stay on your site. It's really important.
I mean, if we look at what the pioneers of the real estate industry on the technology side have done, and I'm talking about companies like Zillow and Realtor and billion-dollar companies, they were the first one that invested a lot on their brand through advertisement to generate that brand awareness, and they kept everybody coming back to their platform to look in there. So that's exactly what you've done on your brand with Boost, where you created your own website, infrastructure, and everything is linked back to your online platform and CRM, giving you total control on your digital business. Now, Ike, tell the viewers, where can they find you? What's your domain? What's your contact information? And how can, if they have to conduct some business on Vegas, how can they reach out?
Sure. So my website is, as it is in my name on the screen, www.theprinslogroup.com. A bit of a funky last name, but hopefully people will remember it.
And we will include it. We will include it for everybody to go and visit your page once they see this video.
And if you go on the website, my phone number is in the top right. So feel free to call me. I'm happy to talk to anyone and help them make informed decisions when they come to Las Vegas. I mean, I've lived here for 30 years now. When I came here, the city had 790,000 people. We're at 2.3 million people now, and still growing about 7,000 people on a monthly basis. So feel free to come and join us here. There's a lot of opportunities, a lot of work available. If you come in real estate, you're going to have a competitor. So feel free to call me.
Well, I thank you so much for your time. I know that as a business owner and a team leader for your brokerage, sometimes that gets very time consuming. So I really appreciate the time that you put into visiting us today and sharing your story with all of our viewers. I would like to extend the invitation to do this often. Come meet me again, and we'll see where the market is in 6 months, and we can provide that information to the viewers as well. But thank you so much for the time, Mike. And again, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Carlos. I really appreciated you having me on and giving me the opportunity to talk to everybody here. Thank you.
Thank you.